dream face in a female, honestly, is not one particular face.
I'm hot, you're not. I'm a superstar. I'm a superstar. Not exceed, not exceed.
So it all started years ago, actually I must say around 13 years ago. And I remember this first star walking into my clinic, and she's like really one of the top stars who had also done international projects. So she walked in and she had very sweet lady. We did what we did for her and she just loved it. So I ended up thinking, okay, now I'll have a queue of people standing outside my door. But it obviously never happened because nobody wants to say that work is being done on them, right? So that didn't happen. So slowly things grew, and I don't know why and I don't know how, not that we've done any effort towards that, but I started getting really a lot of stars all over from the south. I also have a clinic in Hyderabad now, so that kind of has attracted more stars. So we end up getting all the stars from whether it's Tamil industry or Telugu industry or Bollywood. So we get a lot of stars who come here and do it, and we're also getting a lot of international guys now because of huge corporates using them as models. So they come here and then you get recommended by a makeup artist or by a hairdresser. People who've seen my work earlier on other stars end up recommending them. So that's how the whole practice became very centered with celebrities and stars and Bollywood sort of a thing. By now, they've kind of got used to my clinic. Everybody knows that we take people only by appointment and there's no 10 people in the waiting. They come in and they go and nobody knows what I've done inside, right? So when they come out, you don't know what I've done inside. And what I'm also best known for is that I do a job and nobody gets to know. They can shoot immediately. There's no swelling, there's no downtime. So when you walk out, nobody knows what's done. It could just be an acne, it could just be a whatever, just a skin consultation. I would have done the job and come out. So they actually don't mind. They're not that fussy. For some reason, it was always a lot of celebrity practice and upmarket practice. So it's definitely growing a lot from there to now. Also, the awareness is growing that you can do a lot without having to go under the knife. So there are things like injectables where we end up shaping a lot of people's lips and cheek and nose. For example, we just worked on a couple of boys this morning who are again stars from the south. So what we ended up doing is defining a little bit of cheek for them. And like in India, most of us have a smaller chin, what we call it micrognathia technically. So you have a smaller chin. So the men don't look very masculine from the lower half of the face. They have a very rounded bones. So it does not look very etched and sharp, your jawbone. So we end up doing a lot of work with fillers for men, especially for chin and the lower half of the face. And as they start aging, the older stars see that the upper half of the face kind of starts looking, if you see most of the stars, they end up looking very tired under the eye because the fat here kind of moves down and the under eye looks tired no matter what you do. And they end up telling me, doc, it takes a lot of time to light our face up. We end up using a lot of reflectors to just make our under eye look fresh. So what we end up doing is making sure that we do a little bit of fillers there, we end up doing the right skin care, we end up doing treatments like a mesotherapy, we end up doing skin boosters where we do various type of injections at various layers of the skin and inside to make them look fresh and youthful and to enhance the best in their face. That's what we do. Some people have a nose which kind of bends each time they smile. There's a person this morning I worked on, he says each time I deliver a dialogue, my nose flares up. And he doesn't like that. He's trying to control that, where then his acting is not kind of coming out right. So we ended up giving a little bit of a Botox so that it doesn't flare up that much. The women come and they either have an upper lip which is very narrow, or when they say when we smile, it just folds in and disappears. So then I end up doing a little bit of an upper lip so judiciously that they don't look like a duck, like a bad done job, but you won't even know I've done. So that's the trick of a good work, is when you don't even point out something is done, but you guys see the difference and say, I know her from the movie one, what she looks now is what she didn't look then, but then we can't point out and say what's done. The minute you can point out, then it's a bad job. So that's what we usually do, trying to keep the skin fresh. And you know, skin surface, if there are marks or if there are little black marks and stuff like that can be covered with makeup. What they can't cover with makeup is surface irregularities, and the contour of the face is what makeup cannot do much. So that is when we end up working with gadgets and tools and making it nicer. Hrithik Roshan is an ideal dream face. So that's the kind of face they want. Very etched, very lean, very bony. They have a nice little angle on the jaw, nice little angle on the cheek, everything being very etched. So that's what they end up wanting. So as I said, the deficits in an Indian man's face is sometimes the frontal bossing is too much. So they have a dip here, then it looks bad. Or they don't have a proper malar prominence, what we call. They don't have a good chin. They don't have a nice jawline. As they grow older, it even becomes much more fatter here. That's how an Indian man grows old, and it does not look very nice. And for the camera, it makes them look big. So that's when we work on the jawline with either Botox, fillers. There are gadgets to reduce the fat there. So we work on those areas and keep them sharp, lean and youthful. A dream face in a female honestly is not one particular face. It's different features in different face. A lot of them. That's the comfort level I have with actors. There are many times that I take half an hour to just explain to them why they should not do what they're asking me to do. And I make sure and tell them that's not what you need. Probably there's something else what you need. Sometimes I even tell them, listen, you don't need anything. Your face looks so beautiful. So we just let them go. So it's a lot of patients of mine who know me over the years, they literally come and say, doc, now you don't please say no, I want this. And they keep literally coming and telling me, we were thinking how to make you do that. So they're trying to convince me to do a thing. So half the time I tell them you don't need it. Absolutely never. So a lot of times they do ask me for things that I don't believe will do good to their face at all, and I strictly say no. And if I say no once, it is a no. Because to me, I have a really good analytical eye and I have a good aesthetic eye and I know what looks good on whose face, and technically also we know what looks good on whose face. So there are very rarely, if someone asks me, have I said no once, then I go home and think a lot, and then if I think yes, that will do good to their face, I do call them back and we then discuss again and we work it. But there are times when I know this is absolutely not good, then there's no way I give in to their requesting. That I don't do. That I never do. So what they do sometimes is, some of them, they just don't seem to understand. They go to another doctor, they try and get it done. Invariably that does not do well, and then they come back and then we end up correcting it. So we won't do anything which is drastically harmful for them at all. There are certain medications which could harm them. We don't use any of that. I always use the time tested, the best policies for me. I know exactly what we are doing, and I do the all guns. We start off with proper home care, literally things like proper hair care, like shampoos and what is it that you need to use. Up your certain levels like probably iron, proteins. So we sit and look at all the blood parameters to see that the nutrition is up at the right level. Then we look at the hormone parameters to see if their thyroid is right, if their DHT is right, and we look at all of those to see whether that's contributing to hair fall. We correct that if there is. Then in the end, we also end up doing office procedures. Thankfully, that has never happened. I know it might sound a little funny saying how can that ever be, but that has never happened. One, also probably because I'm not in a volume practice. I don't see 100 patients a day. In my busiest day, I see 15 patients. But if you talk to any other skincare doctor, she may end up saying I see 100 patients or 70 patients in a day. I don't. So it's the average volume, it's the law of volumes, isn't it? So I see only 15 to 16 patients in a day. I take my time. We work in a very easy, subtle way, and I'm more known for more subtle changes and subtle results rather than huge changes on the face. I think a lot before I work. We do a lot of homework. I do a lot of pictures of a patient. So I think a lot before actually I stick a needle into the patient's face. And I plan a lot. And since I also am in a lot of forums teaching all over the world, I lecture everywhere. I'm on the editor of certain boards. So what I get is a much more international exposure to what is the latest, what is the most cutting edge. So whatever I bring on the table is the best there is to offer, and I put in a lot of homework. So far it hasn't been that anything has ever gone wrong. You read my book Age Erase, there are a few of them who've told nice things about me. So yeah, that's all I want to comment on that. Oh yes, big time. I have a lot of actors who come for hair treatment, and I use my own little concoction, and along with the concoction we end up using the regular PRP. But with the PRP I use my own little concoction. We get amazing results with the hair, and I have most of the stars coming in, male stars coming in for hair as well. And even the female stars, because they pull your hair a lot every day when they blow dry it or they iron it. Even the wigs that they attach from here somewhere kind of tugs the hair. And then they are in this heat and light and dust all the while. So the scalp is sweaty. A lot of chemicals are used on the hair. They don't eat on time. So anyway, they are on a stressful situation. So with all that combining, their hair fall is a lot more than a layman's or a man who lives a regular lifestyle. Not all of them probably would be treatments. I'm sure there are things like hair patches and other things, and I would give all the credit to the hairdressers who do it beautifully well. There are things that they drop called topic, which also add. So all of this combined gives you a good effect. But if you don't have any hair there, there's nothing to attach or to hold the topic. So it's important for you to have some hair left there. Oh yes, I go all guns blazing, but I never do anything which is harmful to anyone today or 10 years later. Hair is much lesser, I would say, for women because Indians are already blessed with beautiful hair. So it's much lesser, but then yes, we do once in a while treatments to make sure that it is going well. Especially the front hair is what they keep saying, doc, it's looking lesser. They attach a wig from somewhere back. The front to have the volume becomes a little difficult for them. So there are quite a few actors who end up doing just that bit for treatment so that looks a little fuller when they are working, but it's mostly the face. So we work a lot with the face, the shape of the nose. We can make it look more nicer, sharper. If you have a hump, we can get rid of that. If the nose tip is dipping, we can get that up. We can get the nostril smaller. So all of that with the nose, for example, can be worked. Lip can be shaped. Yes, most of them want their lips to look more attractive and nice. They are obsessed about how the lip looks because that's one of the most important features of the face. Thankfully, my girls are not much cornered because, as I said, we work very, very, very subtly. So none of my stars come back and say, oh God, we've been cornered. But they do come and say, we know one of our colleagues is being cornered. We don't want anything like that. So we need to be very careful with what you do. All we need is a little change, doc. So that's the way it works. And these days, it's not like stars are very educated themselves. They come from good families. They're very educated. They come to you with a good worldly knowledge of what's happening and what they want. They're not gullible that you can do anything on their face and they'll take it. I guess it's the aesthetic industry is at a very good space. I have been called to stars' homes. I have been called to sets once, but I refuse to do any of those because to me, this is a proper medical job. So something goes wrong, I'd rather be in my space with every gadget that I want to be handy and I would be most comfortable. Patches of it, not necessarily the whole body patch. Yeah, sometimes a little bit of a lower belly can be an issue. The sides of your thighs can be an issue. The area of excess fat on the back might be a little issue. So these can be corrected a little time to time, but not necessary. Most of them are into super fitness. They're all fit. Most of the girls and boys are beautiful. That's why they are in the business. So it is not that every star wants to get things done. What we do is sculpting. So what we do is more of enhancing the shape. So I don't help them reduce weight. That's not my forte. They go to the necessary dietitians and fitness experts for that. What we end up doing is to make sure aesthetically a particular midriff looks very beautiful on screen or aesthetically an arm looks beautiful on the screen. So we end up then doing little things to either tighten the skin there, as in the circumference of the arm maybe, or if there's a little cellulite somewhere, they end up coming. Sometimes people come to me post liposuction, wherein they've done a liposuction and there's an uneven skin on top. So we help them with that. That I don't do at all. They do inquire, but that they by now know what my forte is. So they come to me for targeted things that I'm good at. I mean, I've never advertised, never done anything like that. So it's not through that. I only get word of mouth. None of those I do. I don't do any surgical job. Of course. So we end up telling them who I have had experiences with and I have seen good results, I end up recommending.
I'm hot, you're not. I'm a superstar. I'm a superstar.